Tyler's father had just been transferred for work, the kind of sudden, non-negotiable relocation that uproots a family before anyone has had time to process it. New city. New house. New school. And for a 30-something adult with an established career, that kind of change is manageable. But for a 14-year-old boy who already struggled with social anxiety, who already found it difficult to walk into a room full of strangers and simply exist without feeling like every pair of eyes was judging him, it was devastating. Westbrook Middle School was everything Tyler had feared it would be. The hallways were loud and full of social codes he didn't understand yet. The lunch tables had invisible assigned seating that nobody explained but everyone seemed to know. And Tyler, quiet and nervous and new, stood out in the worst possible way. When other kids tried to talk to him, genuinely tried, in the beginning, he would freeze. His words would get stuck somewhere between his chest and his mouth. He would look at the floor or at the wall and fail to respond in any of the ways that made social sense to the people around him. And 14-year-olds, being who they are, interpreted his silence not as anxiety but as arrogance, or weirdness, or an invitation to push. The pushing started slowly. Looks across the cafeteria. Whispers he could almost but not quite hear. A shoulder check in the hallway that was just casual enough to deny. And then the names started. Freak. Weird. Loser. A boy named Chris, loud, confident, the kind of kid who had built his entire social identity on the ability to identify and exploit weakness, decided that Tyler was the perfect target. And once Chris decided something, the rest of the grade followed. Tyler stopped trying to navigate the social spaces of the school. He retreated. And the place he retreated to was the fourth-floor bathroom. Most students didn't even know the school had a fourth floor. It was old up there, the kind of old that schools accumulate in sections that haven't been renovated in decades. Cracked tiles. A single flickering fluorescent light. Stalls with doors that didn't lock properly. It smelled like damp. Con stairs to the fourth floor and sit in one of the broken stalls and be invisible and not okay in private. He had been doing this for 2 weeks when it happened for the first time. He was sitting in the stall, not doing anything, just existing in the quiet, when he heard the bathroom door open. His body went rigid immediately. His first thought was Chris. His second thought was that Chris had somehow found his hiding place, had told his friends, that they were all out there right now on the other side of that stall door waiting for him. Tyler held his breath and bent slowly, carefully, and looked through the gap at the bottom of the stall door. What he saw were feet. Old feet, in old shoes, the kind of shoes that hadn't been in style since before Tyler was born, leather and cracked and wrong in a way he couldn't immediately name. The person they belonged to was standing completely still. And from somewhere in the bathroom came a sound that Tyler's brain spent a full 3 seconds trying to categorize before landing on the only word that fit. Growling. Not the growl of an animal. Something worse. The low, pressurized sound of something human trying to contain a rage too large for its body. Then the school bell rang, lunch was over, and the sound from the other side of the stall door stopped. Tyler waited another full minute before he moved. Then he pushed the stall door open and stepped out, and the bathroom was empty. No one there. Just him and the broken tiles and the flickering light. He walked to the sink to splash water on his face. And then he looked up at the mirror. Behind him, reflected in the glass, was a man. Old. Dressed in a suit that looked like it was from another decade, the jacket slightly too long, the collar slightly too high. He was standing directly behind Tyler, close enough that the distance between them should have meant Tyler could feel breath on the back of his neck. And he was smiling. Not the smile of a person pleased to see you. The smile of something that has been waiting for a long time and has finally found what it was looking for. Tyler spun around. The bathroom was empty. He ran. Down 4 flights of stairs without stopping, into the hallway, into his next class, into a seat at the back where he sat for the rest of the afternoon with his heart still hammering and his eyes fixed on the door, and counted down the minutes until he could leave. When his father picked him up at the end of the day, Tyler stood at the school entrance and stared up at the fourth-floor window. And the man was there. Standing at the glass. Waving at him with that same slow, terrible smile, as if they had made plans and the man was simply confirming he would be there when Tyler came back. Tyler said nothing to his father. He didn't know how to start that sentence. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Tyler sat in second period class and tried to concentrate on what his teacher, Ms. Patterson, was writing on the board. She turned from the board and asked him a direct question, the kind that requires you to stand, to perform normality in front of 30 watching faces. Tyler stood. He opened his mouth. And directly behind Miss Patterson, standing between the whiteboard and the window as if he had always been there, was the man in the old suit. Same smile. Same stillness. Same eyes that were not quite right. Tyler screamed. Not words, just a raw sound that emptied the classroom of every thought that wasn't fear. He was pointing at the space behind his teacher and saying, "There is someone behind you, there is someone right there," and everyone in the room was looking where he was pointing and seeing nothing. Ms. Patterson turned. Saw nothing. Turned back. And the man was gone. The class erupted in laughter. Tyler was still pointing at empty air. There were tears running down his face and 30 kids laughing at them. Ms. Patterson gave him detention and had him stand at the front of the class with his arms raised, a punishment that turned into performance for every student in the room. They laughed. They kept laughing. And somewhere in the accumulation of that laughter, in the months of isolation and the names in Chris's particular brand of casual cruelty, something in Tyler reached a limit. His eyes went red. Later he would not be able to explain it, not the redness, not the feeling that came with it, not the way his hands moved without him deciding to move them. What he knew was that one moment he was standing at the front of the class being laughed at, and the next moment his fingers were in Chris's face and Chris was screaming and the classroom was chaos. Chris was taken to the hospital. Tyler was taken to the principal's office. Principal Henderson was a woman who had been running Westbrook Middle School for 11 years and had seen everything. Or so she believed. She sat across from Tyler and listened to him explain about the man in the suit, about the bathroom, about the voice he heard while he was standing in front of the class whispering, hit him, you should hit him," and her expression moved through disbelief and irritation and landed on the particular kind of anger that comes from a person who has decided the child in front of them is making excuses. She talked over him. She told him there were consequences for what he had done. She reached for her phone to call his father. And Tyler grabbed her by the throat. He did not decide to do this. That was the thing he kept trying to articulate afterward. To anyone who would listen, he did not decide. His hands moved and Principal Henderson's throat was in them and he was squeezing and she couldn't make a sound and her face was changing color and she kept hitting the bell on her desk until her assistant, Mr. Dawson, came running through the door and physically pulled Tyler backward and got between them. Tyler looked at Mr. Dawson. And then Tyler laughed. It was not his laugh, not the sound he had been making his entire life when something was funny. It was something else wearing his laugh like a coat. Something that was amused in a way that had nothing to do with humor and everything to do with power. Mr. Dawson later said it was the most frightening thing he had seen in 30 years of working with children. Principal Henderson had Tyler locked in a supply room on the ground floor with Mr. Dawson standing guard outside and called Tyler's father to come immediately. Tyler's father arrived in under 15 minutes. Principal Henderson was in the middle of telling him everything when they heard the impact from the direction of the supply room, a single massive sound, like something hitting the door from the inside with full force. They ran. When they got there, the supply room door was broken off its upper hinge and Mr. Dawson was on the floor, injured, barely conscious. Before they could ask him anything, he raised one hand and pointed toward the stairs. Tyler was gone. He had followed the man in the old suit back to the 4th floor. Back to the bathroom. He was walking behind the figure the way a person walks in a dream, with purpose but without will, moving toward something his body had decided on while his mind watched from somewhere far away. Tyler's father took the stairs 3 at a time. When he reached the 4th-floor bathroom and pushed through the door, what he saw stopped him at the threshold. Tyler was at the mirror. But not in front of it. He was inside it. Half of his body on this side of the glass, half of it beyond, and something on the other side was pulling him through slowly, deliberately, with the patience of something that had been waiting long enough to savor the arrival. Tyler's father crossed the bathroom in 2 steps and grabbed his son by the arms and pulled. The resistance on the other side was enormous, not the resistance of physics, not the feeling of pulling against weight, but the feeling of pulling against intention. Something that wanted Tyler and had no interest in letting go. Tyler's father pulled harder. He screamed his son's name. And then Tyler came free all at once, the way a cork comes out of a bottle, and both of them went backward onto the bathroom floor. Tyler was unconscious. His body was covered in injuries that no one could fully account for, bruises and lacerations that looked days old, distributed in patterns that didn't match any single fall or impact. He was rushed to the hospital. When Tyler woke up, he told his father and the doctors and anyone who would listen the same thing, in the same words, every time. The man in the suit wanted to take him through the mirror. Into whatever was on the other side. And he said it with the calm of someone who has processed something too large for emotion, just the flat, certain delivery of a person reporting what they know to be true. It was Mr. Dawson, still recovering from his own injuries, who finally provided the piece of the story that made everything else make horrible sense. He told Tyler's father about a man named Principal Roger. Roger had been the principal of Westbrook Middle School about 2 years before Tyler's family moved to town. By all early accounts he had been warm, beloved by students, the kind of educator who remembered every child's name and asked about their lives. And then children started disappearing. One. Then another. Then a third. The disappearances happened across several months, slowly enough that each one could almost be explained individually before the pattern became undeniable. When investigators finally identified Roger as the suspect, they found the evidence in the 4th-floor bathroom. That was where he had taken them. That was where it had ended for each of those children. Roger was caught there, in the act, in that bathroom, on the 4th floor that nobody used, and he was killed in the confrontation with police. The bathroom had been closed after that. Sealed. Nobody went to the 4th floor. The administration of Westbrook Middle School had collectively and silently agreed to simply never discuss it, never acknowledge it, allow the years to accumulate like sediment over what had happened up there until it was buried deep enough to feel like it might not be real. But 2 months before Tyler arrived at Westbrook Middle School, the district had approved a renovation budget. And someone had decided the 4th-floor bathroom needed to be included. So it had been unsealed. Unlocked. Opened up for the first time since the night Roger died in it. Nobody had considered that something might have stayed. After Tyler was released from the hospital, his father withdrew him from Westbrook immediately. He didn't ask for a meeting with the principal. He didn't request a formal review of what had happened. He just took his son out of that building and didn't bring him back. Tyler eventually enrolled in a school across town, where he slowly, carefully, over the course of 2 years, began to find his footing, made one friend, then two, stopped sitting alone at lunch, stopped flinching every time a door opened behind him. The 4th-floor bathroom at Westbrook Middle School was sealed again after that fall. The renovation was quietly cancelled. The district put up a new lock, heavier this time, a deadbolt, and nobody discussed the reason.